Today, we're talking to an ex-vegan, ex-military cop certified nutritionist. Nicole was clinically obese until she started eating an animal-based low-carb diet. Just before we meet Nicole, do me a huge favor and smash like, and also please subscribe. This really helps out the channel and I am grateful for your support. Let's meet Nicole. So you told me you've lost about 65 pounds on the carnivore diet. Is that correct?
Yeah, so I'm low carb. I'm about 30 grams or less carbs, primarily animal based. Yeah.
Okay. And the other thing that you told me that kind of really piqued my interest was that you are a certified nutritionist.
Yes. I'm certified in nutrition, exercise nutrition, and senior nutrition, so 65 plus.
Okay, so can you tell me how you kind of got onto a low carb way of eating and how that has worked out with your being a nutritionist as well?
Oh man. Well, let's just start by saying once I stumbled across channels like Bart K, Sean Baker, and Anthony Chafee were the first three I stumbled upon. I started really getting pissed off because it does go against your training when it comes to nutrition and how I work with clients. But prior to that, I struggled with my weight primarily my entire adulthood. So I was an athlete growing up. I played all the things, basketball, softball, ran track. Uh, back in the 80s and early 90s, it wasn't like today. We were actually outside playing and we didn't come home until our parents called for us to come in for dinner. Other than that, we were outside from the time we got home from school until we had to go home for dinner. So I was very active. Um, but I would say once I got or close to the end of my military career, so I served 14 years in the Air Force and I was a cop. So again, I was fairly active. But towards the end, I can't put a finger on what happened because I've always eaten the standard American diet. I've eaten a ton of sweets. I had a sugar problem. But nothing in my diet changed. I guess as I aged, the weight slowly started to creep on and I didn't really notice it until my very last PT test in the Air Force. You have to PT test, which is a physical fitness test. In the Air Force, it's a mile and a half run, uh, as many push-ups and sit-ups you can do in a minute. Of course, there's minimums. And then they tape your waist. So your waist measurement. I passed every single PT test for my entire 14-year career or 13 years until my last one I failed. Um, I passed everything but the waist measurement. The minimum is 35 inches. I was about 38 inches. I continued to gain weight, so just wait for it. But I was 38 inches around my waist. I'm 60 inches short, so I'm 5 feet short. So that was a lot of extra weight to carry. So I was pretty mad that I failed and for the reason why I failed. But I got out of the military because my time was up, not because I failed. Um, but I still continued to gain weight to the point where in 2015, on my wedding day, I was about 200 pounds. Again, I'm 60 inches, I'm 5 feet. I was diagnosed with, of course, I was obese. So I was clinically obese, but I was diagnosed with sleep apnea, high blood pressure. I was never tested for diabetes or pre-diabetes, so I'm not sure on that. I wouldn't be surprised if I was heading towards that direction, but I was fat. Um, so I started losing weight during the pandemic. I was doing CrossFit and I was working out a ton, but I still wasn't really losing weight. So at least as fast as I wanted. So that's when I decided to get certified about 3 years ago, to kind of gear myself towards nutritionally how to lose weight. A lot of it were the dietary guidelines. A lot of it was fiber. Our training heavily promotes fiber, 100% fiber. That's all they talk about. So that's what I did. I transitioned to increasing my fiber. I was vegan for about 4 years, and I still wasn't losing weight. And I didn't understand why I wasn't losing weight. Oreos are vegan, dark chocolate, peanut butter chews are vegan. So I'm not saying I was eating the cleanest vegan diet, but I wasn't eating the worst. Um, but I still gained weight, actually. I actually weighed more than 200 pounds. I don't know what I weighed at my heaviest. The last I weighed was 200, but I know on the vegan diet I continued to gain weight. But it wasn't until I stumbled across, those YouTube channels I mentioned, Dr. Anthony Chafee. I binge watched a ton of Bart Kay's videos. He's very, very smart on, physiology and biochemistry and nutrition. And that's when it all clicked. And that's when I started to get really, really, really angry, which I'll talk about later with my training, because I thought I was doing all the right things. So yeah, so in total, I lost 65 pounds. Most of that was because of low carbs. I was of the belief that you need carbs because that's what we're trained. I was also of the belief that keto is very unhealthy, and I was anti-keto because that's how we're trained. But the more and more I uncovered, the more and more I realized this is how I should be eating. And I'm telling you, I feel amazing. I'm 65 pounds down. I no longer have digestive issues. I didn't know I had digestive issues. I knew I was bloated because I felt that, but I didn't feel anything else until I no longer have gas. I go to the bathroom maybe once a day. I'm regular. I don't strain. So I had no idea I even had digestive issues. Um, I did have anxiety, which was actually exacerbated looking back on the vegan diet. I've had anxiety since I was a kid. I was diagnosed with generalized anxiety since I was a kid, and it was actually worsened when I was on the vegan diet, and I actually went through therapy. But since going low carb, about 60 days in, I noticed that that has since subsided. So I no longer struggle as much with that. So that was, I think, the biggest transformation outside of my so far 65-pound weight loss. I do still have 15 more pounds to lose, but so far I'm 65 down in total.
Wow. That is a colorful story. So
Yeah.
can I just clarify kind of the timeline? Um,
Yeah.
so initially you were a cop, is that correct? And then you went into the military?
No, I was a military cop in the
A
military.
military cop. Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. And
Yeah.
and so I as someone who is not from the US or and lives in Japan, I'm not sure exactly what the role of a military cop is. So what do you
Oh, yeah, yeah.
do?
So, it's different in each branch. So in the Air Force, there's law enforcement and security. So at the time I worked a lot on the flight line. And then I did normal patrol, like traffic stops, domestics, and things like that. So what normal regular police officers would do, we would just did it on base with
On
military
ba
with the addition,
ah,
yeah,
okay.
with the addition of the security component.
So your population is just whoever's living on base, basically.
Yeah,
That's
military
okay.
civilians. But we shoot all the weapons, throw grenades, and all that stuff, all that fun stuff.
Okay. Okay. And then you leave the military and pandemic happens and that's when you get interested in nutrition and that's when you go and study that. Okay.
Yeah, I've always been interested in nutrition, but that's when I really dug deep in because I had time. I was furloughed. I was with the federal government at the time.
Hmm.
Um, so I was furloughed, so I had time while everyone else was gaining weight and doing all that. I that's actually when I lost the bulk of my weight.
Okay. Nice. And can you tell me a little bit about your practice now and how you're working with your clients now? For example, has that changed in the time that you did your initial training and it was fiber, 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 and now you've moved away from that. So is how you're working with the clients changed?
Yes, but it's hard because people still think they need fiber. People still think they need to eat all of the plants and vegetables. And what I started saying, feel free to steal this. But what I started saying is imagine you're in the woods or the rainforest and you're just randomly walking and you see something growing on a tree or you see a bush of plants. Would you pick that bush of plants and put it in your mouth? Most people wouldn't do that because they understand that there are things out there that are poisonous, like poison ivy, and you don't know what's poisonous or what's not. So that still holds true with the stuff in the grocery store. There's no difference. It's just that's in the grocery store and that's in the forest.
Mm.
So that's how I try to educate my clients, but it is an uphill battle because people think you need fiber to be regular. People think you need fiber for all sorts of things. I have a client who actually her doctor told her to stop eating plants because she had oxalate stones and she has to have one of them removed. But she still believes that oats are heart healthy, and I have a hard time convincing her otherwise. So I do try to promote low carb and lower the carb intake of my clients, but it is an uphill battle because it's going against the recommendations. It's going against the guidelines and what's been ingrained in our heads
Mm.
for so long. But when it comes to seniors, this is where I really, really, really get mad. Um, they really push in my training, they really push fiber to seniors. Now their absorption of nutrients decreases. They do end up with digestive issues and all these other things and biological changes as part of aging, but they really up their fiber intake as they age. And if they have like uh renal disease because of too much protein, they recommend upping their fiber. So when it comes to seniors, I have a hard time breaking that mold because of the registered dietitians. I can't go against
Mm.
registered dietitians and they're trained on the guidelines. So when it comes to seniors, I'm a bit more restricted and have a harder time and uphill battle. But my regular clients, I do try to promote the low carb lifestyle. I do try to lower their carbs, but like I said, it's especially when it comes to grains or my nemesis, it's very hard because of all the marketing and people don't realize that all carbs are sugar. So even providing that education is hard. Um, but it's working so far. I actually have a couple, a few people I transitioned to low carb, which I'm super stoked about, and they're already starting to see the benefits.
Mm.
But it's going against the grain 100%. So I do get a lot of pushback.
Yeah, I can just imagine. Like sometimes friends will ask me, like I'll post a before and after photo of myself on Facebook or something, and people will ask me, "What are you doing?" And then you go into an explanation about it, and then they'll ask questions and stuff. But the more you talk, the more their eyes glaze over, and the more you're realizing, oh, they just think I'm crazy now, you know?
Yeah. And it's 100% the carbs that made me fat. I really could not figure out what it was because I thought I was doing everything by the book. I was doing everything by the book, but I was not losing weight. Even working out, even doing CrossFit, I was not dropping the weight and I could not understand. But now, now I now I get it. It's the excess sugar. We're definitely on a carb overload and it's causing a lot of issues. Most of my clients are diabetic. And like I said, I would not be surprised if I were damn near close to pre-diabetic at the weight I was at. I was really unhealthy. Um, but yeah, fiber's bad, but sugar, I didn't realize I had a sugar problem. Well, I knew I had a sugar problem. I wouldn't have been 200 pounds if I didn't. But I didn't realize how bad it was until I just got back from vacation. And I'm actually working with another client on the same thing. But I went on a cruise and I was like, oh, it's just a molten lava cake. I'm on vacation. I can try it. I'm telling you, I got back from that vacation not strictly adhering to what I've been doing for so long. Up until now, this has been about a week being back. It took me a long time to get back. My cravings were through the roof. I wanted nothing but ice cream and all those types of foods. So just until a couple days ago, I started to like eliminate those cold turkey because I now know that I haven't had them in a while and then reintroducing them. I can't have those foods because I can control my binges now, but it literally was a struggle for me to not give in to my urges. And that's what sugar does to people. It has that hold on you. And I didn't realize it had that hold on me until I eliminated them for so long and then reintroduced them back. And that's when I had an aha moment. I was like, no kidding. That's why I was obese, because I ate a lot of those foods and it was instinctually, and I could not control my cravings. Thankfully I can now, but it was bad. Up until this
Mm,
weekend, it was bad. So I cannot have those foods because I almost binged.
mm. Yeah, it's so dangerous. Yeah. Even if I was to have something that's just tastes sweet, like, Diet Coke or something, that would be it for me. It's just a downhill slide.
Yeah.
I kind of see sugar now as exactly the same as alcohol. If I have another drink of alcohol, that's it. I'm back into drink. You're never not an alcoholic, right? And so, um, I feel the same way about sugar. You're never not a sugaraholic. Once you're hooked to that, that's it. And you reintroduce it, and that's it. So
Yeah.
I've got a question for you, and I'm happy to cut this out if you feel this is too personal a question. But you mentioned growing up in the 80s.
Yeah.
Um, how old are you? Because the image I have of you from looking at you on screen now is that you're not that old.
42.
42. You don't look 42 to me. Yeah.
Thank you. No, please do leave this in.
Yeah, you don't look 42, and I mean, you don't your demeanor feels a lot younger than that. You appear a lot younger than that. So obviously the diet and the lifestyle is working well for you. Um,
Yeah, it's that I do want to hit on that because it's that stress. So I mentioned the anxiety. I didn't mention the sleep. Um, so sleep ages you,
mm,
or at least looks wise, right? Like if you don't sleep well, you're gonna look like you don't sleep well. And I never slept well.
mm,
Um, but since switching to low carb, I had to work on meal timing with sleep, with the excess, all the meat I wasn't used to eating. But once I got that down, um, I sleep at least 6, 7 hours, which is an improvement from the 3, 4 I was getting before. So my sleep has improved. So I feel amazing. I have sustained energy. I don't have the crashes. Um, but the anxiety, so all those things, of course, helps you age healthier because it's lessening your stress. So
mm,
it all plays a part, but I do feel those benefits since definitely eliminating the sugar, which I didn't realize how much of a problem it was for me, but that was huge. Just eliminate the fact I eliminated the sugar, just doing that for me was huge.
mm. So you mentioned the sleep apnea has gone, the you're 65 pounds down. Um, what else has improved for you since you've been doing this?
Well, funny enough, my nails, and I knew that it could happen, but my nails are actually stronger. Like they will break all the time. So my nails are strong as hell now, and my teeth seem whiter, which
Mm,
I guess eliminating the sugar helps. But those are things I wasn't expecting. But outside of the anxiety, which was the best transformation I could ever have,
mm,
um, I gave a talk to 50, 60 people in person, which is the largest audience I've ever spoken to. Normally I would, have the sweats and the blood rushing to my head and shaky and like just trying to survive and get through it still standing. Um, about 45 days since after switching low carb, I gave this talk. I had
mm,
no response. I had no sweating. I was confident. I didn't think twice. I just talked. I have never experienced that before. I actually called my dad right after because I had no idea what just happened, but that was surreal. Um, I have no stage fright now. So I can just talk in person and I don't have a reaction. Um, so that was the best transformation. But other than that, digestion, like I said, I didn't know I was constipated. Because they
mm,
teach you, you know, you want to have bulk in your stool to be regular. You need to have your stool as bulky as possible. That sounds painful. And it was painful at some points. I'd literally be able to read a novel. I mean, TMI, but I'd be able to read a novel and spend my evenings just chilling, waiting. Um, so I didn't put two and two together, but since eliminating fiber, I go number two at least once a day. It's easy. I don't strain. It just happens.
Mm.
So once a day I go. Um, I don't have gas anymore, which my husband thanks me. Um, so I don't have gas anymore. Now that I understand what happens with soluble fiber and all that.
Mm.
And outside of that, I think those are like the biggest things that I've noticed. Oh, my inflammation. So I've had two knee surgeries on the same knee, and I just wanted to test it out. This is why I went low carb. It wasn't necessarily for weight loss. It was to see if I can get my knee, like if I can go up and down stairs without the pain and discomfort. I had the arthritis, bursitis, all the itises in my knee. So I was like, well, let me try low carb and see if I can get this down. So day one, I did a single leg press with my right leg to test the strength. I was about 30-ish pounds single leg. About 60 days in, I was like, well, what the hell? I'll try it again. I was up to 45, 50 pounds with no pain, no discomfort. I was able to walk the next day. I didn't feel anything, like no pain. I'm able to go up and down stairs now. So we live on the third floor of our condo building. I no longer have to take the elevator. I largely take the stairs now, which is huge for me. It doesn't pain me sitting for long periods of time anymore. Every once in a while it'll bother me, but for the most part, the pain in my knee has greatly decreased to where it's not really affecting my physical life anymore, like just by going up and down stairs. I mean, there's stairs everywhere. I used to have to walk down sideways first thing in the morning
Mm.
to loosen it up. But I don't have that problem anymore. It's amazing. I literally run up as soon as I didn't feel that discomfort. I literally ran up the stairs that same day because I was super excited. I haven't felt that good in years.
Mm. Nice. And so what is your kind of eating schedule and meals like during the day?
Yeah, so I eat twice a day. I originally started, so when I transitioned, I did it slowly. It took me about 60 days to transition. I did do electrolyte supplements because I was expecting the keto flu and the electrolyte dump and all that. But now I'm about two meals a day. I'll have my first meal probably depending on when I eat my last meal the night before, but anywhere between 8 and 11 a.m., usually around 9 or 10 on average. This morning I just had steak and eggs, four eggs, um, two uh, petite size steaks. And then for dinner, it's much of the same, either sausage or chicken. I mix it up. I get kind of burnt out with steak, and sometimes I get like fatigue and just disgusted. But usually it's steak for the most part. Every
Mm.
once in a while I'll have chicken or sausage or even a pork chop just to mix it up a bit. But yeah, it's about two times a day with I do eat dairy. I do eat cheese. So I'll have full fat cream cheese, or just regular American cheese, but usually just full fat cream cheese, is usually the dairy I eat. But other than that, it's primarily just steak, chicken, and pork is what I
Okay.
eat.
Okay. And you said that you're doing 30 grams or less of carbs a day. So what, like, how do the carbs come into it? What kind of carbs are you eating?
Yeah, so I do have berries, just because I like the taste and they don't really affect me. And um, yeah, I know that they're not the worst of them, but I do have blueberries and strawberries are the two types of berries I'll have. So I do have the berries. Every once in a while, I'll have green beans is pretty much the only veggie I'll have every once in a while.
Mm.
Um, but then I'll have the keto ratio yogurt. Um, just because I know I can't not have that the rest of my life. So that's kind of like one of my non-negotiables. And then of course I'll have like a Michelob Ultra and the beer I'll have on weekends. So that's primarily where my carbs come from.
Okay. Okay. So
Yeah.
it feels like it's almost more of a treat than part of the lifestyle. It's like you're almost eating mostly a carnivore diet with occasional
Yeah.
treats or something like that.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
call it like animal based because I know
Mm,
I do have, the berries and all those things. So I can't say I'm carnivore, but yeah, I'm probably about 90% carnivore based with with the berries and the green beans here. Not all the time, but I'll have green beans every once in a while. Just 'cause I like the taste and they don't really affect me, but I don't eat a lot of them either. Um, but yeah, that's pretty much what I'll eat. I'll just stick to the strawberries and blueberries predominantly. I did try pineapple actually because I was experimenting to see what fruits I could have.
mm,
That did not make my stomach feel good because it's so sugary. I was feeling it the next day. So pineapple's out, bananas are out now, so I'm stuck with the berries.
okay. I think there's also there's some other acids and stuff in like things like pineapple and kiwi fruit that are probably, if you haven't had much in the way of fruit for a long time, probably don't agree with you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. That's like most things. I tried pizza on the cruise too. That was not a good idea. Not at all.
Acco-
But yeah,
according to most dietitians, though, the problem would have been the meat on the pizza, not the pizza itself.
that's what I'm saying. Like that's 100%, and that's what we're trained in our training. I have all of my
Mm,
textbooks, and that's 100% what they say. They still promote low fat. That's why I had the problem with working with the 65 plus because they all by law have to have
mm,
registered dietitians on site. But yeah, and like I said, I was against keto when I first started because that's how we're trained.
mm,
Fat bad, saturated fat causes this, increases this, does this. So I would advise people against it professionally. And now I openly apologize to everyone once I transitioned myself because I knew I was wrong.
mm,
But that's 100% how they're trained and those foods, the low fat diet is what's causing all of these chronic health issues. I mean, I fell in the category. I was a statistic. I was obese. I was one of those statistics because of this low fat diet. So yeah, I'm grateful to the YouTubers I stumbled across because it we're trained in biology and biochemistry to a basic level, just around nutrition, not nowhere near to the level of, Bart K and all those, but just basics. And when you're reading a chapter about fiber and it says we recommend 6 to 8 servings of fiber, but in that same chapter, but humans, we don't digest fiber. If you eat too much fiber, it's toxic. If you just stick to this level, that's not toxic. And so you're reading all this, but you're so brainwashed, you don't like take a step back and think about why I'm promoting something, knowingly promoting something that I know that we don't digest. Um, so that's why I was very, very pissed off in my training, especially when it
mm,
comes to seniors, because they actually increased their intake. But that's why I was getting so mad because that made me sick. And
mm.
I was making my clients sick, not knowing I got in this business to help people do what I achieved, and I was making them sick. Um, so yeah, it's very frustrating.
So, as someone who's been there and been through the training, um, do you think that most dietitians and nutritionists are just unaware? It's not that they're thinking, "Oh, well, this is the way I can keep my clients and, just keep them eating the bad food, keep them sick, keep them coming back." They're not feeling like that. It's just that you know, their training has told them this is the way. So it's just, you know, that's what they
Yeah,
believe.
yeah, 100%. They're trained on the dietary guidelines, which is primarily a plant-based diet. Um, Unfortunately, if you're a registered, they're clinicians, right? So if you're a registered dietitian, you're likely working in the clinical setting, which is a hospital or some sort of medical practice. If that's the case, then by law and by licensure, they have to abide by the guidelines. Same with doctors, same with, doctors like Ken Berry and all them. That's from what I understand why they left the practice. And from what I understand, why a lot of registered dietitians are leaving the practice and going out on their own. But yeah, if they work formally in a clinical setting, that's exactly how they're trained, and that is what they have to abide by, or they get penalized and fired, and they can lose their license.
Mm. Okay.
That's why I went the route I went, because I don't have to abide by the guidelines, and I can tell people to eat all the saturated fat and meat they want. And I actually have one client I'm trying to convince of that. He had a heart procedure, and he's very much afraid of eating animal foods. He actually follows Dr. Ornish. I don't know if you're familiar with him.
Mm.
Um, so I'm trying to educate him on plants and the anti-nutrients and how they digest or don't digest and things like that. But he's afraid because of all the fear mongering and all the the studies that are out there. So it's things like that that make me sad that it's an uphill battle, but that's part of it, is because of the studies, and it goes against registered dietitians and the science.
Mm. Yeah. So, you mentioned that the client that you're trying to convince now. Do you have clients who, or do you have any clients who you've been able to say, you know, give this a try, and they've tried it for 30 days or 60 days, and then they're like, oh yeah, this is awesome. I'm sticking with this.
Yeah. So the client with the kidney stone that she has to have surgically removed, she was plant-based when she came to me. And I
Mm.
don't take plant-based dieters anymore. I did, because again, I was vegan for 4 years. So I don't take plant-based dieters now, but she was a friend and she was open. So she now eats um chicken, eggs, um I don't know that I've seen her eat steak yet, but she does eat animal foods now for every meal. So I worked her up to that, and she feels a ton better. She's a biker, so she bikes like 100-mile races and stuff like that. But yeah, she has decreased her plants. She is dropping weight steadily, gaining muscle, and feeling better than she did on plants, obviously, because they gave her kidney stones. But yeah, so I was able to convince her, and she is feeling better. The one that I just described with the heart, that's more of a sensitive, because I'm not a doctor, so I can't treat the heart. And I don't want to like scare him, like add to the fear, but I'm slowly convincing him. I think he's coming around. I sent him a bunch of YouTube channels. I actually sent Bart K's Debunking Dr. Ornish, which was fun. So yeah, so I'm slowly working on him, but the rest of my clients are diabetic, and that's
Mhm.
primarily who I work with, because that was me, right? So I do primarily work with diabetic clients who are usually obese, type 2 or pre, and I've cut one success story recently is I cut his carbs in half, and his A1C is almost normal. And his endocrinologist said he's almost out of the type 2 range just by cutting his carbs. So he's a believer, and he actually wants to continue to cut his carbs. So I'm pretty proud of that. But it's making me happy that I'm my own anecdote, because I didn't want to preach this to my clients without seeing how it affected me first. So I'm just happy that I'm able to actually help my clients and not add to the problem
Mm.
by having them eat this junky diet that's not benefiting them. Like, sure, they'll drop weight if you just cut their food in half, but it's not benefiting them. So, yeah, I'm just happy I'm actually able to help people now, and I have that ability to do that because I'm not bound by licensure and the guidelines and all that stuff.
Mm. The great thing, I think, as well, is being able to introduce people to a diet where um, they no longer have to spend 99% of the day thinking about what the next meal is going to be. Like
Yeah.
you can actually introduce them to a way of eating where they can eat, and then they can go and focus other things in their day. They don't have to be thinking, when am I going to have a snack? What am I going to do next? You know?
Yeah, and that's what it is playing that blood sugar roller coaster. Because my favorite meal when I was vegan, you're not gonna like this, but I was vegan, so I know you're not gonna like it. But when I was vegan, my favorite meal, I kid you not, this was actually one of my last meals before I switched to low carb, actually, was refried black beans, um, half an avocado, pineapple salsa, sweet corn, and jasmine rice. That was my
Okay.
like favorite vegan meal. There's nothing but nothing but fiber and whatnot, but that was my go-to meal. But that's what people think are healthy. So a lot of my clients, maybe they'll add chicken to it, but that's a similar meal to what most people would eat because by our dietary standards, that's healthy.
Mm,
So including more meat is a challenge. Like some people just don't like the taste of meat. I actually have one client like that. Some clients think that you can get protein from the black beans, from because everything has protein, right? So then it's educating on bioavailability and how your body processes certain nutrients and those sorts of things. So it's hard because of the marketing. Like Greek yogurt's a popular one. So it's hard, but I have most of my clients do eat meat. Some who came to me who didn't eat a ton are actually open to trying it, and are starting to feel better. But yeah, they ate like me. They ate a lot of grains, and I'm Italian. I love pasta. I ate lasagna. I ate all the pasta. So that's how the vast majority of my clients eat a ton of bread, ton of
mm,
pasta, a ton of rice. Black beans because protein. But that's how most of my clients eat when they come to me. It's
yeah.
not the ultra processed foods for the most part. It's those types of foods. It's a lot of the breads and the pastas and the rice and the grains and those sorts of foods is what I see a lot. And there's a ton of sugar in bread, more than people even realize. Probably more than some cookies out there, just one
Mm,
slice of bread. But yeah, vast majority of my clients are just a ton of grains.
yeah. I once read somewhere in one of these low GI books many years ago that bread, white bread, has a bigger impact on your blood sugar or the spike in your blood sugar than a Snickers bar does. And now I don't know how true that is. It was years ago, but it just kind of when you bread is just so not good for you, especially well, I mean all bread, but I was going to say especially white bread, but all bread's not good for you.
Yeah, because it's
Mm.
they add sugar and salt to that's what makes it rise.
Mm.
But one of my clients actually wears a continuous glucose monitor. And when I started talking to him about bread and grains and all these things, he actually tested it. Exactly what you described. He didn't have a Snickers, but he had a piece of bread or a sandwich. And he noticed after he ate the bread, his blood sugar was through the roof. I don't remember what kind of bread it was, but he is wearing a glucose monitor because he wanted to see what foods drastically affect his blood sugar. And yeah, it was off the charts. So now he's listening to me and not eating the breads. But it's true, it does. If you wear a continuous glucose monitor and actually see what's happening after you eat the foods, you'll be shocked at how your body responds to certain things like bread that you wouldn't normally think about. But they add sugar and they add salt. That's what gives it one the flavor, but that's what helps it rise too.
Mm. Yeah, it's scary, and we're just happily going along, pumping this stuff into our body, thinking, yeah, we're doing the best we can because we're following the dietary guidelines.
Yeah, it really, really, really
Mm.
angers me. I have clients who are working out and don't wonder why they're not losing weight. I was one of them. I was like, I'm working out. Why aren't I losing weight? And it's because our dietary guidelines are pushing this plant-based narrative, this crappy food that's just making us obese and we think we're doing right. And then we go to the doctors and they want to put you on all sorts of pills. Like they wanted to put me on blood pressure meds. And I'm telling you right now, you can say no. I said no. Not a lot of people know they can do that. You don't have to take the meds,
Mm.
but that's what's happening is they blame you whenever you go to the doctor. They say you're doing something wrong, and here's a pill to fix it. Because that's what they did to me. Like that my doctor at the time put the blame on me. Well, you're fat because of what you're eating. I'm like, I'm eating the dietary guidelines. And all he did was give me the CPAP machine after my sleep study and try to give me some blood pressure meds. So it's unfortunate. I mean, these guidelines are making us obese and making us sick. But when you go to the doctors for these things, most of them blame you, like you're
Mm.
doing something wrong. You're not following the guidelines to the T. It's your fault. And then they try to give you a pill to fix the problem, or now it's metformin and Ozempic or whatever other garbage they want to stick you with.
Yeah, you're doing something wrong, but the best thing you can do for yourself right now is take this drug so I make some money.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah. That's
yeah,
exactly what they did. Here's your CPAP machine. Here's your blood pressure med. Go continue on your way, figure your stuff out, and come back when you lose weight. Like
yeah.
that's 100% what they do. It's
And the thing
unfortunate.
is, I guess then the cycle just repeats because then you go back and you say, yeah, I'm sleeping a little bit better, but I'm noticing I'm getting this problem now. And it's like, oh, yeah, well, you're not doing this right. Take this new drug. And
Yep.
it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger until before breakfast or after breakfast, you're taking like, 9 tablets a day.
Well, I mean, it's the diabetic diet. Again, most of my clients are diabetic. My dad's type 2 diabetic. But they still promote the diabetic diet, which is riddled with carbs and indigestible fiber. So that client I mentioned with the blood sugar trending in the right direction, his A1C, all his numbers are trending in the right direction. His endocrinologist asked what he was doing. He's like, yeah, my nutrition coach has me on, low carb, high protein, high fat. She's like, cool, continue doing what you're doing. Here's a bunch of overnight oats recipes. So they're contributing to the problem because overnight oats is heart healthy, right? So eat all the oats you want. That'll help your blood sugar. So so
It,
I don't understand.
it's scary. So, you mentioned your husband before. How's your husband with the dieting? Like, is he joining you in this or is he just doing his own thing?
Kind of both. So I was skinny and fit when I met him. And then I gained the weight because I had him. So I didn't have to like try anymore, I guess. I don't know. So he's been with me through most of my, weight fluctuation. So he was with me at my absolute heaviest, and obviously he's still with me. So as I've lost the weight and educated myself outside of my stupid nutrition textbooks and all that crap, he he's seen obviously he's seen me sleep better. He's seen the benefits. He's seen, that I can move around better, with my knee and all that stuff. So I think just seeing my transformation made him a believer and kind of think a little bit. So he's not low carb. He hasn't really changed his lifestyle, and I haven't asked him to. But what he has done is he cut his carbs. So he used to be a sandwich guy. Now he'll eat like half the bun, or he'll eat, maybe a quarter of the hash browns or potatoes instead of the whole plate. So he's done little things like that, and he's noticed that his stomach is flatter, and he's lost some weight, and he says that he just feels better. So that's kind of what he's been doing, is just cutting his carbs a little bit. But he sees benefits just from doing that little bit. He says he feels better, and he's noticed he's lost a few pounds.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, he's not fat to begin with. He's tall and lanky.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, if your clients in a perfect world, okay, so your client comes to you and says, I'm type 2 diabetic. I'm feeling awful every day. I haven't got control of my blood pressure. Everything's wrong. Um, I'll just do whatever you tell me. What would you recommend to them?
I'd first say thank you. Um, of course, low carb, 100%. And I always tell my clients I don't expect them to go as low as me because I'm well, as you now know, and as I've described, I guess I'm lower than I thought I was, but I'm primarily animal based for the most part. I eat very minimal carbs, and most people can't do that because most people are, like I was, I'm sure you were back in the day, super high carb, predominantly high carb.
Mm.
Um, so what I do is I have a low carb food list. It does include nuts and, spinach and leafy greens and all that stuff that, I don't normally eat, but I know I can't I can't have people eat, 95% animal products going from 200 plus grams of carbs a day. So I have that low carb food list and I just tell them to eat predominantly the foods on that food list, even the nuts and all those things with all the oxalates and all that stuff. But I just tell them to just start doing what I just described. I, suggest that my husband do. Just do little things like eating half the bun, eating one piece of bread instead of two, and doing little cuts like that. And over time, they'll start to notice a difference and start to feel better. And ideally, they would want to continue dropping their carbs. But my ultimate goal is to get them to at least 50 grams, I think is the sweet spot, especially if you're diabetic. And then if you can go lower than that, have at it. I'll take you across the finish line.
Mm.
But I haven't found a client that, drops below the 50. I find the 50 to 75 grams is the lowest I've been able to drop someone. But, they're just doing that, you will start to trend in the right direction with your numbers. But all diabetics should be animal based, 100%.
Mm.
But unfortunately, I'm going against people like the endocrinologist I mentioned,
Yeah.
who are still pushing the diabetic diet. So there's only so much I can do unless they're willing to not listen to the doctors. But because a doctor has a DR or MD at the end of their name, they think they know everything. Um, so that's hard. But just cutting their carbs in half, I mean, I'm good with just doing that
Mm.
because it's
Nice.
easy.
Yeah. I think I can kind of understand why most people that do cut down their carbs probably end up sticking around the say 70 grams, 50 grams a
Yeah.
day kind of thing. Because as someone who was a carb lover, you mentioned the refried beans. Like for me, it was stuff like beans and chickpeas and lentils and stuff like that. I would love all that stuff. And of course, thinking it was healthy for me. So when you start to cut all that stuff out, and especially when you're cutting out the processed stuff, um, and you get down to about, 70, 60 grams a day, you do notice massive improvements anyway. So most people are going to get to that point and go, yeah, that's enough. I'm happy with this. I feel better than I ever have before. So I'm happy to stick to this level. Um, yeah. But of course, when you go lower, you do actually, in my experience anyway, you do actually start to feel better. And I'm sure you would attest to the same thing,
Yeah, I
the lower
actually
you go, the
stopped.
better.
Yeah, I stopped at the 50 to 75 grams myself. And that's why sometimes I still say I'm about there, but actually talking through it, I'm okay. Maybe I am a lot lower than I thought I was
Mm,
because I stopped at the 50 grams. And I guess, not realizing I was doing it, I continued to cut because I felt good.
mm,
But it was gradual. So I guess I didn't notice it. But yeah, I stopped at 50 for a bit and I was still eating things like the avocado, or I would
mm,
still eat things like peanut butter, and I would have chocolate every once in a while. So I was still eating those foods. But yeah, I think I would agree because obviously I kept going. I now realize I kept going and I'm lower than I thought I was. But yeah, I actually feel better eating predominantly animal foods. And
mm,
as I experienced recently, reintroducing some of those old foods back in, it was an uphill battle to fight those urges and me wanting to binge on those foods, and it has an effect on you. So I'm glad I experienced that though, because now I realize how good I feel now compared to where I was before. But yeah, if people would just eat, I'm not saying go carnivore, and I know you don't tell people to go carnivore, but if you just lower your carbs to as low as possible, um the benefits and the way you feel compared to the way people likely feel at this moment, it's light years improvement. It's just being able to get to that low level because it's hard. It's
Mm,
carbs are addicting. I was obviously addicted and didn't realize I was addicted, but they're very addicting and it's hard to show people the benefits of not eating those foods. But if you're diabetic, you should not be eating those foods at all, like zero of those foods. But it's hard. They're addicting and they're addicting on purpose. And it's hard to break people from that. I don't know. I struggled with it, and I'm getting myself back on track now this week from vacation, and thankfully it's not as hard because I've been doing it for so long that it's easier for me to get back, but
mm,
it was still a struggle to get back after falling off the wagon on that cruise. So it just reinforced just how addicting those foods are. It's crazy how addicting and how much of a hold it has on you.
mm.
So I understand why it's hard for people to drop that low because it makes you feel good. It feels good eating those foods.
Yeah. Yeah. The interesting thing, and I 100% agree with you. The talked to I talked to another lady yesterday who has been eating this way for a number of months now, and she described carbohydrates in, I think, almost the perfect way. And she described it as mouth pleasure. Because and I think that's a great description because that's all it is. It's like it's pleasure for your mouth. Once it passes your mouth, there's nothing good about it ever again. Like your stomach feels bad, you feel bloated, so it's as you say, it's difficult to give up. They're addictive, right? But it's just getting over that kind of the mouth pleasure part, and that's how you can break it, you know?
Yeah, it's emotional eating.
Mm,
Um, yeah, 100% emotional eating, and it's breaking that cycle. Like once you start eating carbs, especially in the amount that we eat them, because I ate more carbs than animal foods, before I made the switch about 6 months ago, 7 months ago now. I ate predominantly the black bean, my favorite meal at the time, and those types of foods, very minimal meat. I would eat chicken. I ate zero red meat. I ate zero steak. I didn't eat fish. All I ate were chicken and turkey, all the lean meats. That's all I ate when it came to animal foods. I didn't eat a lot of cheese because dairy was bad. I drank almond milk, because almond milk was healthy and that's the end thing. But that's how I ate. So when it came to animal foods, the rest of my foods were all carbs, sweet potatoes, the rice, all those foods. So you have no control. There's no such thing as intuitive eating at that point. You have no control over your hunger. You're playing the blood sugar game at that point. It's like once your blood sugar crashes, you feel like you need more of those foods. And then you're just literally just that vicious cycle, just riding the roller coaster. So it's 100% emotional eating. As soon as you introduce carbs into your mouth, it's you're playing a dangerous game. Russian roulette. You're playing a dangerous game
mm,
when it comes to carbs. And that's why you can't control it. It's the blood sugar game, and there's no way you can intuitively eat. There's no way you know what physical hunger feels like eating the way our standard American diet is promoting. There's no way anyone knows what physical hunger what is. I thought I knew, but now that I'm low carb and eating a lot of meat, now I'm eating steak. And I really did not eat steak until 6 months ago, till I switched low carb. But I didn't know. I thought I knew what physical hunger was. No freaking idea what physical hunger
mm.
was. Because I didn't realize my signals were all crazy and out of whack, and I couldn't trust them. But now that I've been doing this for so long, it's I only eat when I'm hungry, and that just happens to be twice a day. And I eat enough, I'm satisfied. I don't feel hungry again until a few hours after I wake up. That's true hunger. That's
Mm.
physical hunger right there. That's intuitive eating. The standard American does not know what intuitive eating is, and they don't know what even registered dietitians who promote intuitive eating, they have no idea.
Yeah.
There's no way they intuitively eat. There's no way. They're addicted to sugar. All of them
Mm,
are
mm,
addicted to
mm.
sugar.
Yeah. The the best the best example I have of intuitive eating is when you fast for if you fast for say 48 hours. So you'd probably be asleep basically about on the 30 hour mark or something, right? But that second night's sleep when you're on your 48 hour fast, you wake, in my experience anyway, you wake up really early in the morning, 2 o'clock in the morning or something, and you're wide awake, and that's your body signaling to you, come on, go and hunt. You need to eat now. And
Yeah.
that's the perfect example of what real hunger is, and your body really telling you it's time to eat now is, you can go 48 hours without food before your body even says to you, hey, come on, buddy, it's time you ate something, you know?
Yeah, I actually wouldn't agree with that if it weren't for me experiencing it myself. So I never went that long. I'm not that crazy. But I did go. So I would eat my last meal around 6 p.m. So I'd eat, anywhere on average nine in the morning, 10 in the morning, and then I'll eat again at 6, and then I won't eat again until 9. But depending on what I eat, I can go until like 1 p.m. without having my first meal. So it's not
Mm,
intentional fasting. It's just, yeah, it's just you eat the right foods and your body tells you when you're hungry.
mm,
That's intuitive eating. That's trusting your hunger signals, and that's true physical hunger. Um, what dietitians promote, this intuitive eating. That's their platform is intuitive eating and moderation. I still don't know what moderation means. But their platform is intuitive eating, all things in moderation, which promotes, feel free to eat your cookie, just have one, don't eat the whole bag.
mm,
That's what got me in trouble. I was like, cool, I'll just have one. Um, but they don't know what intuitive eating is. That's what they're taught in school, right? And that's what their platform is, but they have no idea what intuitive eating is. I didn't know until I switched to low carb and actually experienced like true hunger signals. It's wild. It's wild because you don't eat the same time every day. If you eat a larger meal at night, you don't eat again till 12. I don't think about food. I just sit here and work and I'm like, oh, I'm hungry. Then I'll go make something to eat. But I'm not thinking about food all day long. I'm working. It's actually less stress for me because I'm not thinking about my next meal all day long
mm,
like I was before. It's all I thought about was food. When I'm going to have my next meal, I need a snack. I'm hungry. And so you don't get that eating this way. You don't snack. You don't feel the need to snack. You don't dream about food. You don't have to like pull at a rest stop and get a candy bar or a protein bar on a road trip. It's incredible. And, I hope everyone experiences this, at some point in their life because it's wild, the drastic change between eating high carb to low carb, just the way your body works. And yeah, it's incredible.
mm. Nice. So, Nicole, how do people reach out to you?
Yeah, so I'm also on YouTube. I just started my YouTube channel. I did a review on Abby Sharp, if anyone knows Abby Sharp. It's quite funny. But they can reach me at former fat girl on YouTube. But they can also just go to my website at darkhorse-nutrition.com and check out my content, and my email address is on my website.
Okay. Fantastic. Thank you so much for spending time with us and sharing your journey, Nicole.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It was tons of fun, and yeah, I love chatting with like-minded people. So thanks for having me.
Guys, thanks for watching. Please don't forget to click like and subscribe, and I'm looking forward to seeing you in the next video.